can you give us the story with Jimi Hendrix? Because
Yeah.
that's such a effective story.
It was kind of an enormous sucker punch that growing up in an extremely militantly disciplined family. My dad was a drill sergeant in World War II, God bless Warren Henry Nugent, and he was militantly disciplinarian, which I resisted and hated as a boy until I learned how critical and imperative discipline was. Thank God I learned it fast enough so when I went into the world of rock and roll and I saw these drooling, puking, suicidal idiots running around trying their damnedest to get me to smoke their dope and to become this Aussie idiot, I stood my ground because I was looking forward to the next bow season. I was looking forward to the next squirrel hunt. And I knew that you couldn't be one of these drooling, stumbling idiots if you wanted to get that trigger squeeze on the head of a squirrel or a good arrow on a white-tailed deer. That was my motivation until I realized that discipline is about making the tough but right choice. And it came to an inescapable mountaintop moment where my hero, and the hero of probably every music lover and guitarist in the history of the world, when I got to jam personally with Jimi Hendrix. We'd go to the Steve Paul Scene. It was a nightclub notorious for jam sessions. I would jam in a single night with Al Cooper from Blood, Sweat and Tears, Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, Albert King, Rick Derringer, certainly Johnny and Edgar Winters, just the world's greatest musicians. And in 1969, early in 69, just prior to Jimmy's death, we were in a little rehearsal room. Actually, it was a broom closet, kind of, at the Atlanta Municipal Auditorium. And the Amboy Dukes were opening up for Jimi Hendrix. And I'm jamming with my Gibson Birdland with a little amplifier with Jimi Hendrix playing his upside down Strat in a black Les Paul. And he was asking me how I got those noises out of the Birdland. Of course, I didn't know. I just knew it was a hollow body and it fed back really neat. And made those noises, and I was cultivating that sound. And he offered me his pills, and he offered me his dope, and I just told him, just no way, man. You know, just no way. Now, that's a lot of pressure, or people would call that pressure. I didn't look at it as pressure at all. I looked at it as somebody going, I've got a broken glass sandwich. Want a bite? No, thank you. Not only do I want a bite, but is there anything I can do to help you stop eating broken glass sandwiches? Because it might be why your gums are bleeding. So luckily I was able to stand my ground that day, and shortly I told Jimmy he was going to die because he was already boogery and pukey and drooly, and it was a crying shame because he'd lost his fire musically. His communication capabilities were marginal, and it broke my heart, just like the same scenario with Keith Moon. Same scenario with Bon Scott of AC/DC. Same scenario with John Belushi at the peak of his career. I had these one-on-one encounters, and I was able to stand my ground because I'm disciplined as a hunter and a shooter. And I knew that what they called being hip was the self-inflicted destruction of your sensuality, of your level of awareness, of your pleasantness, of your being. And that would interfere with what was already very difficult for me anyhow, getting arrows to go where I wanted to them out of my threadbare recurve bow. So my motivations were somewhat selfish, but they ultimately proved to be a lifesaver for me because all those guys I just talked about are all dead. They all died shortly after I turned down their offer of drugs and alcohol. And I couldn't be more proud. And I did everything but tie them up and flog them to help them get off the poisons. But you cannot be your brother's keeper if it demands you get violent with them. So I unfortunately just sat back and watched them all kill themselves.
Well, I know you had an intervention with Sebastian Bach during filming.
On the Supergroup program on VH1, that same insanity took place with a great talent and a great man, Mr. Sebastian Bach, who's just incredibly gifted with vocal capabilities and musicality, that he thought part of being a rock star was being drooly and pukey and stumbly and stupid and drunk and stoned. I don't know why the glass sandwiches keep selling, but I had to intervene just because I love people, and I hate to see this self-inflicted suicidal death march by anyone, especially someone that I'm fortunate enough to spend intimate time with. And he did take my advice for a short period. Sadly, after the supergroup show was done filming, he went down the tubes with the drugs and the alcohol, almost killed himself. His family begged and prayed and pleaded for him to be going to rehab. He did, and he called me very teary-eyed one night to tell me that he in fact should have listened to me to begin with, and it would have saved a destroyed year and a half of heartbreak that he forced upon his own family and loved ones. And at least he woke up before he died.
Exactly.
So I wish him Godspeed, and I wish everyone who's having problems like that Godspeed. But poisons are poisons. Drugs, alcohol, and tobacco are suicidal poisons. Just don't do it.